welcome everyone. This is our weekly call at Sustainable Kashi. Sustainable Kashi is a demonstration site where we try to teach people by showing regenerative practices. So we have an off-grid eco-village in which we use our own solar energy, have biodigesters to create methane gas, and try and live as in balance with nature as possible. So we wanted to be able to still communicate with everybody in these socially distanced times, and it's been really wonderful to reach out to people from all over the world. So thank you and welcome. Today is really exciting because we're talking about medicine, and what a perfect time to talk about medicine and healing right now. So this is a little scary time for a lot of people. This is a confusing and isolated time for a lot of people. So we have an amazing guest speaker today, which is Shanti Pierce. If you don't know Shanti, she works with bamboo, leaf tea, and has been working with medicines for as long as I've known her, and I think that's over 10 years already. So she's an amazing human, and you'll be very, very pleased to be talking to her. So I wanted to start with some questions for everybody and talk about the way we can run this call. Right now we're about 30 people on the call, so we'll have to have a little bit of order. I'm going to ask a question, and if you have an answer, either there's a raise hand section in the participants button on the bottom of your screen. If you hit the participants button, there's a little thing that says raise hand, and if you hit that raise hand, I can know you want to talk, and just unmute yourself and then answer. So we'll go ahead and practice that right now. And the question is, what medicines are you growing at your house? All right, let's go to Crystal. Crystal, what kind of medicines are you growing?
Namaste, thank you. Oh, wow, I have quite a bit growing, but I'll say a couple of my favorites that are really low maintenance, easy to grow. I just kind of leave them and forget them and harvest them when I need them. Oregano and rosemary, thyme, you know, those kind of typical herbs that we buy from the grocery store and season everything. I can't remember the last time I had to buy those things, and I use them in my stocks and my soups and teas, even in my bath, and just really easy to grow, and it helps to build our immunity. I mean, just so many properties of those three. I mean, kind of the trio: oregano, rosemary, and thyme.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, we have all of those and use them quite frequently. So, and pretty easy to grow, each of those. So thank you for sharing. Let's go with Mark.
Hey, I like to use lemongrass. So a lemongrass plant growing and making a tea out of it helps with some digestive, comfort. Also, if you have like a fever, it's supposed to be good for bringing a fever down, high blood pressure.
Wonderful. Yes, and also extremely easy to grow. I use it as a ornamental because it makes such a beautiful grass clump, and really put it in the ground. You don't have to do another thing to it, and it's fantastic. Yes, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Anyone else growing anything medicinal? There you go. Let's see. Katie.
I'm growing beans in my backyard. And I am also growing moonflowers, and marigolds, and I think lavender flowers.
Possible. Okay. Well, thank you, Katie. That's perfect, because that segues into the first thing I wanted to talk about. And that is that, yes, the food and the flowers are medicine, whether we actually ingest them or not. And the most beautiful part of this process is the connection to nature and to that growing and earth natural process. I first started getting into organic gardening because I wanted to eat organic food and I couldn't afford it. So I started growing it, and then I realized that food was medicine. And the more that I ate that healthy, delicious food, the more that I was surrounding myself in health and connection to the earth. So it was really exciting to create and understand that amazing relationship we have with the earth. And when I think of permaculture, I really think of relationships. And it's all of how we interact with our ecosystem, with our communities, with each other. And the medicine is just another example of that. So it's really wonderful when we have a rash and we can just clip a little aloe from the backyard and heal ourselves and give ourselves that power. And I'm noticing right now in this time of COVID, things are less available. People aren't able to go get things as easily as they used to. And that self-sustaining connection is more important now than I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. So I think that that connection is super, super important right now. And it's really exciting to be in that time. So that being said, I want to start by saying there are times to go to the hospital. We're not going to be growing our own bone mending things. I mean, granted, we can be growing comfrey, which is called the bone mender. But if you break an arm, I would probably recommend seeking medical help. I had a friend that was bit by a pygmy rattlesnake, and he tried to heal himself. And I would recommend going to the hospital on that particular instance. So we're not going to grow everything, but there's definitely things that we can take control of medicinally in our lives, and not only for our immediate trauma, but for our overall health. So we're all healers, which is really exciting. Here at Sustainable Kashi, we have started a apothecary medicinal garden. So we collect calendulas and aloes, and we have yarrows and catnip and plantago, and all these plants that we put in one place, and that's where we create our salves and our creams and our tinctures, and we'll get into a lot of that a little later. So if it's a wonderful space that we've created into a sacred area. So all our medicine is actually regarded as super sacred and super special. That space heals us. And so it's nice to go to that space and feel that connection with the earth. I think as we teach more apothecary classes, we get to show more and more people how to connect to the earth. And I'm really excited in teaching those classes to just get to know so many amazing healers of people that are doing this. And I am super excited to introduce Shanti Pierce. Because Shanti Pierce, who is now on the call, let's see, Shanti, if you can unmute yourself. She is going to tour us around her amazing property. And if you can just tell us a little bit about what you've done and what you do. And with that, I'll give the platform to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Terry. It's such a gift, what you're doing and sharing. I think during this time, one of the things that occurs to me is that we have the ability to be super global and then hyper local, right? And hyper local meaning our yard, sometimes like our little space that we live in. And so it's just, maybe it's the walk down the street or things like that. And I wanted to introduce to you all information about bamboo, because it's something that is often really available. And sometimes these things are things that you may not be aware of at the moment, but once you start knowing it and seeing it and looking for it, you'll see that it's there. And what I love about sharing about bamboo is that it is pretty readily available. I mean, even for people who are living in the city, oftentimes they can get access to it by walking down the street and finding someone's plant. And most people really don't care if you pick some leaves off their plants. So that's great. I wanted to kind of run through, because it's a permaculture class, relate bamboo leaf tea and bamboo and tea to permaculture. So I thought it would be really fun to talk about the 12 principles of permaculture in relation to tea. And that way we can all kind of do a little review of that in relationship. So, which is, I think, really important to just kind of keep going over those things, because they're just so critical to our lives, right? So with the 12 principles, and I'll just keep kind of moving around and you can kind of see the bamboo in the background. We're going to start with number 1, observe and interact. And for bamboo, I was thinking that it's taking time to learn about the plants in your immediate surrounding. This is really important right now. I think oftentimes we overlook things. One of the things, if you're in Florida, that it is pretty much everywhere is this little guy right here, Biden's Alba, right? Biden's Alba is everywhere. It makes a great tea. If you only know one native plant in Florida and actually up the East Coast too, Biden's Alba is a great one because it's everywhere. And once you start knowing something, then you see it, you know, and that's the thing with bamboo too. Once you start knowing that you can use it and how you use it, you'll look for it and you'll be able to see it. So it might be something just really simple. It could be something like a pine. Let's see if we can get it. There it is up there. Pine needles are a really great way to get vitamin C. So vitamin C is really sensitive to heat. What you would do is take the pine needles and put them in a cold infusion. And you just soak them overnight in water. Bam, there's your vitamin C. So you can do a cold infusion tea. You can do a hot infusion tea. But those are two things that are really, really readily available. And teas don't have to be something that comes from, you know, way over the other side of the world. It can be something right here in your backyard. And that's what we want to talk about, is what's here. Observing. So with herbal studies, oftentimes we refer to things as the doctrine of signatures as referring, this goes back to like about 100 AD with the first physicians in Greece. And they talked about things, what they look like relating to what they're good for. So we now are super fortunate that we can go back and we can look at those things as a reference point, and then we can take the science and we can either back it up or we can, you know, say no, you know, and it can go both ways. But let's talk about bamboo for a minute, because this is in bamboo, it really, really relates. So what I like to say, if you're only going to think about two things with bamboo, it's strength and flexibility. So it's super strong and yet super flexible. And what's really cool is that silica is the #1 element that people know bamboo for. And it is strength and flexibility of every single cell in your body. So in that particular case, it works out, which is really great. It's kind of fun that you can look at something and kind of like, you know, a plant is trying to communicate with you in some way. And if you can then go back and take research and study and look at it, because I'm all about where is the intersection between what we're feeling and then also going back and actually doing the research and the science to verify that. And those two things, the intersection between those two things is really where medicine is going as far as all of this. So that's pretty cool. Okay, #2, catch and store energy. So bamboo uses the sun. It uses the soil and all of the amazing microbiology in the soil. We're talking like, you know, everything that's happening, the fungi, the bacteria, and all these things that we're just starting to really, really dive in deep with. Bamboo is the grass. Grasses in general have the ability to uptake everything that's available. They have really great connections with these bacteria and fungi in the soil that allow them to do a large uptake. And again, with bamboo, it's really good at uptaking minerals. So it's a high mineral content, which makes it really great for using as a supplement, or if you're looking for silica, which is water soluble, a tea. So catch and store energy. Bamboo is really good at that. #3, obtain a yield. All right, so bamboo is kind of the ultimate giver, right? We have, we can make food, we can make medicine, We can make biomass that can make everything from a building to a bed to, you know, anything you need in your house, to a straw, to, I mean, we've seen so many things made out of bamboo, right? And it's also providing beauty. It's providing habitat for animals. It's a great forage for animals. It's got 13% protein on that. It's releasing 10 times more oxygen into the air than a tree. And it's cleaning water. It pulls water out of the ground and releases it through all of its leaves back into the atmosphere, which is where we want to hold the water, is above us. We don't want standing water on the ground. So it's really, really good at doing that. Every part of the bamboo is usable. Every single part. Okay, number 4, apply self-regulation and feedback. So in this, I was thinking that in the journey of tea, we've all come through this journey in a lot of different ways. You know, maybe we started drinking chamomile tea in the evening, or mom gave it to us to go to sleep, or our grandma gave us lemongrass when we had a sore throat, or maybe we drank black tea growing up, or something like that, you know? And this journey is leading us. It's leading us on a path. Once you open that doorway to what you're going to intake into your body, it can lead in a bunch of different ways. So, and then you can start going down these rabbit holes of areas that you didn't know. Like, for instance, maybe you have a fig tree in your yard. Maybe you're in California and out in the West and you have just wild figs growing everywhere, which is amazing. You could make tea from that, right? Did you know that you can make tea from fig leaves? You can make tea from bamboo. Did you know you can make tea? So once you start questioning what are the things that you didn't know were edible, you'll find that a lot more things are edible than you thought that are available to you. And I think that is like super magical, that you can find things all around you by being observant. And this is a great thing for kids, because once they start going down it, they get so excited, like, oh, I can eat this and I can eat that, you know, it's like, and that's super fun to just go around. One of the best things I've ever heard about why you should eat at least, you know, a small handful of something out of your yard or garden or forage or something every day is that it's containing on it, without being washed off, right, all of these, you know, bacteria and all, it's basically a probiotic that you're taking into you. When that goes to the store and you're washing it off, or you take it inside and you heat it up and all these different things, or, you know, we're spraying it with chemicals in the grocery store to keep it preserved, that's all killed. So you don't get any of the benefit that it was intended to have, right? So just going out and eating a handful of raw vegetables, or, you know, something out of your yard or garden, is medicine right there. So it comes in so many different forms. Okay. Number 5, use and value renewables. Well, I like to say that bamboo is a perennial vegetable. I don't think people think of it that way. When we talk about perennial vegetables, we're talking about adding something into our garden, our space, or maybe that we have access to in somebody else's space, that we can use year after year. And that's what bamboo is. We can eat the shoots, we can use the leaves. There's so many things that we can do medicinally and food-wise with bamboo. So just the idea of that, and that, wait a minute, are we there? There we go. That we can use this over and over again is so easy, right? Like, we don't want to make this challenging. We want to make this easy. And putting a bamboo plant and letting it grow and then having it is one of the easiest things you can do. Okay. And let's see. Use and value renewables. That's where we're at. And increasing the medicinal value. Okay. My thing is that I will buy teas from some people because there's things that I don't grow, like rooibos tea I don't grow, green tea I don't grow, and I like to have those things in my life. And there's other things that I might not grow that I want to have in my life. But you are always getting a higher medicinal value by picking and creating your own teas in your own yard. And it's a really important thing to, even if it's not like a huge diversity, the nutritional value that you're getting through the, you know, how fast you're getting it into you, how fresh the product is, and that it's coming from your own ecosystem is so much more important. And I really can't emphasize that enough, is that, you know, taking these things that do well in your environment and making tea from them is almost more important than buying some obscure thing from, like, you know, the Himalayas or something, because everything we need is here. Everything you need is around you, and the nature will make it available to you. We have so many potent medicines that we, you know, round up and weed eat all the time, you know, trying to get rid of them out of our yard, and we could be using those. So once we start flipping that narrative to the other side, I think you'll see how much is available to you, which is really great. And most of you on this call probably already know that. Okay, 6, produce no waste. My biggest pet peeve about creating teas is packaging. I hate packaging. I hate it. I hate labels. I hate packaging. I hate tea bags. I hate all of it. And I don't like to use the word hate, but it's like an arch nemesis. It feels so wrong to use something that's so sustainable and then have to put all this packaging around it and then ship it in a box and all this kind of stuff. Make your own tea. Grow your own bamboo. Make your own bamboo tea. It's not that hard. You know, take the time. You're worth it, right? You're worth it. Take the time to take care of yourself. And that's a really important thing. So that right there is a huge thing, because just the packaging on all the food and everything that we do is, so much of it is unnecessary. Okay, 7, design from patterns to details. So we're looking at bigger picture to smaller picture. And when I think of this, I think of blending, and I'm going to go really into detail about blending teas, but my daughter put it this way. She was talking to me about it last night, and she said, you know, it's like thinking about the outcome that you want, what you're trying to create for. So if you're creating a tea, like Terry was talking about, for bone density, you know, you would put things together for bone density. And what's really cool, I mean, I think in tea, like in cooking, you talk about the art of tea, right? Because there's a flavor component and then there's a medicinal component, and those two things cannot be separated, right? I mean, you can choke down some really awful stuff and that's okay. I do that. And you can make it taste really good. So why not make it taste really good? And when you're thinking about that journey, it's really fun. You know, it is a form of cooking, and it's a form of extraction that you can really start to play with. This is where our unique and individualness comes into play, because each one of us is going to bring something different to that. And that's so important. Each one of us is so important in this. You know, we each have a different, unique journey that we've been on that gives us insight into how we're going to blend something together. And I think that is just super magical. So please play around with that. Okay, number 8, integrate, don't segregate. I love this one about bamboo because silica is a binder. So silica, whether it's used with a plant or an animal, human, dog, whatever, it binds things. It always works better in formulation. So what I like to say is that oftentimes people think of bamboo as being like a monster and aggressive, and they use all these kind of negative terminology. I like to flip it and say, you know, really, actually, bamboo is working in community. It's giving back the silica, and silica is a binder. It makes other things more bioavailable. So when you're partnering it with something like lemongrass or ginger or whatever it is, it really kind of blends with everything. It is the underlying background of your formulation, and it makes everything work well together and makes all of that more bioavailable to you. So putting it in whatever blend you have is always a good idea. You can always add it in, and it's got a light sweet flavor that really doesn't, so the flavor wise, it doesn't really, you know, take over anything. And so oftentimes when I think of blending, I think of using something as that background and then adding the things on top of it. So if I was going to do like a throat or something for a sore throat or cold or something, you might think of like a ginger, lemongrass, bamboo. That's a really good combination. You could throw some turmeric in there. Okay. Then we have 9. Use small and slow solutions. So bamboo is an equalizer, and it grows quickly, and it's available to a lot of people. And this is where I want to highlight one of my little friends who is so special to me. This one right here. This is Pseudosassa japonica. It gets a really bad rap. It's available almost everywhere. And there's a guy out in California called Pascal Bauer. I don't know if he coined the term, but he's amazing at really highlighting like what are termed invasive species and like how to eat them. Invasivore is the word. I'm not sure if he came up with it, but he uses it a lot. This is one of those plants. It's everywhere. People hate it. They love to like, you know, complain about it. It is an amazing tea. It's amazing for you. It's an amazing forage. It's amazing for your dog. So that one is available all over the East Coast, West Coast, like it's everywhere, right? And oftentimes people are like, I can't get it out of my yard. Well, maybe it's trying to get into your tea. So use that one. That is about something, you know, I am a big proponent of saying that knowledge of these, and specifically bamboo, because it is so readily available to everybody almost. You know, I mean, there's qualifications. If you live in a big city, you might not have access to it, but it's so prevalent in so many areas. Once you look for it, you will be able to find it. It's a social justice issue. You know, health and well-being is not just for the rich and famous. It's for everybody. And to spend a lot of money on medicine doesn't equate with the amount of nutrients and medicinal value that you're getting from it. You know, what equates to that is you being able to make your own from where you are and having the knowledge and power to do that. And that should be available to everybody. These are basic needs that we all have. And what I love about bamboo is that it's one of those things. It is readily available. And so I really, really encourage you to use it and to tell other people to use it, because what you don't know, right? Okay, number 10, use and value diversity. In nature, diversity is stability. I love this one a lot because in our culture, you know, you go into the grocery store, you see like, you know, I don't know, 15 vegetables or something like that. Most of them are in the brassica family. So that really just counts as one, FYI. So teas, if you're making a tea that has 7 different components in it, that's 7 different things that you're adding into your diet that you didn't add in. So if you're eating a meal that has 5 components, maybe it has rice and beans. Let's just take something really simple. I'm looking at my cactus here. Rice, beans, Nepalese cactus, and, you know, maybe tomatoes in the salsa, you know, but then you have a tea, you're adding in 7 different you know, that blend might have 7 different things in it. Those are 7 different nutrients, components, nutritional value that you weren't adding in before. You've just doubled your intake of diversity. And nature loves diversity, community. We are all important. I mean, the biggest thing about this whole thing right now to me is that how important each one of us is. We are all super unique and we all have gifts, right? And allowing ourselves to expand our nutritional components in our lives by adding in teas and medicines. And when we say teas and medicines, I mean, some of these need to be used in smaller amounts, and you know, we won't get into that today, but you're adding this diversity that is expanding your consciousness. It's expanding how you think. It's expanding who you are, and it's expanding your capability of being you and your unique self, which is so important because we are all in this together and we're all a community. And that's what teas are. Teas are about community. Food is about community, as it should be. 11, using edges and value the marginal. Well, we talked about this a little bit before. All parts of bamboo can be used. I mean, that to me, I love learning about things, for instance, like this guy right here. I don't know if you can see it, but that's like, it's a bamboo flower, right? You can ferment it, you can eat it, you can use it as a salad. And most of the time, the only thing we eat off the banana is just the bananas, right? And yet there's a lot of other parts that we can use. So using and utilizing the things around us, we have not been taught to do that. We've been taught and trained really so much in this culture to use just the one little part that's the best part. Well, maybe it's not the best part. Maybe other parts of it are the best part. We just haven't been trained to do that yet, right? I love to use sweet potato leaves. I love them. I love to use pumpkin leaves. They're one of my favorite parts of the plant. So question all those things. I love the idea that if you didn't know you could make tea from bamboo, what else are you assuming that you can't eat or drink or make an extract from or use in some way that you can, that's right there in front of you? You know, oftentimes these things are right there. Okay, so number 12, creatively use and respond to change. Wow, this is a big one right now, right? So many of us at this moment have more time. Time is a very valuable commodity, and it's something that we don't often have a lot of. So can be a real gift to have the time right now to do something that we don't often have time to do. And taking a look at the natives, at what do you have that's around you that you can use, that you can eat, that you can make medicine from, and really diving into that, encouraging your kids to dive into that, encouraging your neighbors to dive into that, and just, you know, to look and see, because there is so much around us. We have the ability to use so many things that we don't even know what they are. And I think it's a really great time to look at the abundance of what we have as a flip side to the scarcity of what we don't have, right? Always great to feel that. And in this moment, I would say, if you're having these ideas of fear and scarcity and anxiety, one of the best ways is to connect with the plants, because at this moment in time, plants don't have those fears. They're doing their sunlight thing, making chlorophyll, you know, feeding themselves, going off into the world. You know, you can go out and feel, connect to a plant, connect to your teas, creating what you do, picking leaves, making tea, all this kind of stuff. And it feels good, right? You're out, you're getting UV, you're breathing in oxygen, you're creating health for yourself just being out with them, and you're connecting to something that is not feeling those same feelings that are going on in the world right now. And that's really important for all of us to connect back to that so that we can remember, so that when we do have to go out, we can hold that space of being in no fear and abundance and feeling like we are supported, because we are supported. And so I think just the last thing I wanted to talk about was that just a kind of quick how-to. So we're going to take our little pseudosauce japonica here. And all I would do, the really, really basic way to make tea from this is just to take these leaves and boil them. You're going to get all the benefits from bamboo tea just by boiling the leaves. And I like the stems too. So when you're using, one just quick thing about the stems is that stems actually have a higher silica content than the leaves. It's just that to get that silica content, because they are more of a woody substance, you would need to cook them longer. So you can throw them in there with it. I like to do that, and then just boil it for a couple of minutes, and that's it. That's good to go. You can kind of play with it after that, as you know, if you want to store it or you want to dry the leaves or sun dry them and things like that, and you can play with all that. But the simplest thing is just taking the leaves and boiling it. If you are not a tea person, that's okay. Take the leaves and throw them into your soup. Throw them into your whatever food you're cooking, like you would like a bay leaf or something like that. And then you're infusing that into what you're eating, right? So there's many different ways that we can incorporate using these medicinal teas, even if we're not going to sit down and drink tea, right? We can put them into our foods and use them in that way. So those are just a few things that I wanted to talk about, and we're going to do questions on Facebook afterwards, so really we can get into more details about things there if there's any questions that you have. But I thought it would just be just kind of a quick overview of some ideas around incorporating tea into your life, and of course specifically bamboo, because that's my thing.
Oh, Shanti, you are so beautiful. Thank you so much.
I love you, Terry. Thank you.
I love you too, very much. I want to thank you for taking the time to share all this with us. It's absolutely amazing. And I also want to thank you for giving us the amazing gift of 5 teas and 5 hydrosols to give away to 5 people in this call. So it's absolutely amazing. And in order to enter to get those 5 amazing, if you've ever smelled and felt Shanti's hydrosols, they're amazing. And of course, the teas are even more amazing. Simply go to our Facebook community group, Sustainable Kashi Community. You'll see the link over in the comments, and answer the question, how do you think the world would benefit if families started growing their own medicines? So it's an easy question to ask. Answer it right in there, and we're gonna pick 5 of the answers that like really resonate with these times. So Shanti, thank you so much. We're really dedicated to holding space for these classes every week. Next week, we're gonna have Carly Bergman, who is an amazing human being talking about zero waste. And you could check her out at Sustainable Duo on Instagram. She's an amazing, amazing human. If you feel like supporting us at all, keeping these calls going, we'll have a link over on the comments as well with our PayPal, or there's a link where you can donate. Also, I want to thank all of you for being here. Right now is a remarkable time in history. We are in a place where we don't have to do the things that our lives were filled with. Many of us fill our lives with all these things that we have to do. Well, right now, all those things we have to do, we're not allowed to do them. So what's left is those things that we really want to do. So now is the time to really think about connection And to think about making your life sacred. And we talk about medicines, that's what we're talking about, making every part of your life sacred. So if it's going out and communicating with a plant and creating that, really embody that. So thank you everyone for joining us. We are going to be answering questions for the next few minutes on the community page on Facebook. Thank you all for joining us, and we're very grateful to have you all here. I love you all, and stay healthy. Namaste.